Hey guys, welcome back to the Tkinter tutorial by Uplatz. So this will be the last video of this course. So we are completing the course by seeing yet another interesting project of how to calculate the compound interest. Okay. So as you know, compound interest plays a very important role in investment or in savings. So you must have heard about the compound interest. It's called as the eighth wonder of the world, correct? So that is the importance of compound interest. So what is compound interest then? So compound interest is different from the simple interest. The compound interest can be easily defined as interest on an interest. Okay, so that is the compound interest. So anyone who is interested in investing or in savings, they need to learn the basics of compound interest. So let's do a simple project of how to develop a GUI using Tkinter to find the compound interest that will be accumulated over a period of time. Okay, so let's start with it. So the project will be, so find the compound interest in Tkinter. So first we will import the Tkinter. So we need to define this clear all function. So to clear the existing values so that we can enter the new set of values. So this is quite a familiar function because we have used this function in almost all of our the projects. So the define clear all function, when the button is clicked, the whole content of the entry boxes is deleted. So you need to know where, from where you need to delete the values. So you will have a entry widget called the principal field. Then you will have a entry widget for the time field. Then you have a entry widget for the rate of interest per annum field. Okay, then you have a entry widget for the result to show the result of compound interest. Okay, so all these need to be deleted. So there will be 4 entry boxes which needs to be deleted using the clear all function. So the first one is the principal field. All these are the entry widgets. The next is the rate field. The next is the time field. Last one, the compound field. So time field, finally compound field dot delete. Then we are using a new thing here to set focus on the principal field entry box. So if we want to set the focus on the principal field entry box, you need to write principal field dot focus set function. So the focus set function is used to set the focus on the desired widget if and only if the master window is focused. Okay. So we will write the principal spelling was wrong. So it is principal field dot focus set focus underscore set to set the focus on the principal field entry box. Then now we have to write a function to find the compound interest. So define compound interest, define calculate CI. So we are using a very simple formula here by taking the values of principal amount, the rate of interest, and time taken. So first we need to get the values of these three. So principal equals using the get function. Okay. So whatever values we insert in the entry widget using the get method, we can get those values. So principal equals int principal field dot get. Then we have to get the rate of interest rate equals float rate field dot get. Then time equals int time field dot get. Now we will calculate the compound interest. CI equals principal multiplied by So we are using the power function. So the first argument is the base, the second is the exponent, the power of 1 plus rate divided by 100. So this is the first argument. The second argument, that is the exponent, is the time. So 1 plus rate divided by 100, comma, time. So this is the formula we are using. Then we have to insert this in the entry widget using the insert function. So for that I will write compound field dot insert at the index 10, and what value we are inserting is CI. So then we will start with the main function, the driver code. So if name equals main, so now the GUI started. Create a root. So root equals tk, then configure function. So background equals green. Set the background color of the GUI window. Then set the configuration of the GUI window using the geometry function. Then the title, set the name of the GUI window. Now we have to create few labels and few buttons and few entry widgets. So label 1 equals label on the root. For the principal amount and with some foreground and background colors. So we are doing it in rupees. Okay, so this is the first label. We can have the same background and foreground for the remaining widgets, for the remaining labels. So we are creating the second label for the rate of interest. Then the third label will be for the time. So time will be in years. label 3 equals label on the root, text equals time in years, then the last label would be for the compound interest. So these are the labels we need. Then now we will use the grid function to pack all these labels using the grid function. So the first label label 1.grid, so 1 column 0, pad x equals 10 and pad y equals 10 along the x-axis and the y-axis. So similarly, we can use the grid function for the remaining 3 labels. So label 2.grid, label 3.grid, label 4.grid. Only the row numbers will change. Rest everything will be same. Row equals 1, then row equals 2, then row equals 3, then row equals 5. Now we will create the entry widget for all these labels. So the label 1, label 2, label 3, label 4, you can see the text. By seeing the text, you can create the entry widgets now. So the first widget, you can say principal field. The second interest, the rate of interest field. The third entry widget, time field. The fourth entry widget, compound interest field. So principal field equals entry on the root. Then rate field equals entry on the root. Then time field equals entry on the root. Then finally compound field equals entry on the root. Compound field equals entry on the root. So the labels and entries are created. Now we have to use the grid method for these entry widgets. So we can just modify this copied content. So principal field dot grid So this should be next to the label. So the row will be 1 and column will be 1. You can see the first label, the row is 1, column is 0. So for this, the row will be 1, column will be 1. So pad x equals 10 and pad y equals 10. Similarly, the remaining entry widgets can be placed just like this. So rate field dot grid row 2 column 1, then row 3 column 1, finally row 5 column 1. We are almost done. Now finally, two buttons to call the commands, one to clear everything and one to calculate the compound interest. So B1 equals button on the root. So the text can be submit with some background and foreground color. But the important thing here is the command option, for which we give the function calculate CI. Command equals calculate CI. So the second button is to clear the contents. B2 equals button on the root. Text equals clear all. The command should be clear all. So now we will use the grid function to place them. So button 1 dot grid. So these can come in row 4. That's why we have left the row 4 as empty, because we need these buttons. Then below this button we need the result. So b1 dot grid, row equals 4, column equals 1. So b1 dot grid, row 4 column 1, b2 dot grid, row 6 column 1. Now we can use the main loop and run the program. So we will execute it. So let's enter some values. So these are the values. So when I click on the submit, so we are getting one error. Principal is not defined. So So one more error, principal is not defined. So we have made a spelling mistake here. You can see the n is missing in principal equals int principal field dot get. So that is the mistake. So let's try it now. So let's give the values. Let's input the values. So this is the compound interest. It means the principal plus the accrued interest. So you can see the values when you give the input, it shows you the compound interest, right? So let's give another set of values. So you can see the compound interest for the given values. All right. So practice this